CASA, it stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocates. They step in to help a child whose life at home is tough, and they're able to do this with the help of their volunteers. Jenny Bender, Executive Director of CASA Colorado, and Dax Hammond, an ambassador for Denver CASA, recently dropped by with more information on CASA's mission. So first off, Jenny, just give us a little more information about the CASA program.
Sure. As you mentioned, CASA stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocates, specially trained volunteers that represent a child's best interest in court. And at no fault of their own, children who have experienced abuse and neglect and trauma are removed from their homes and everything in their lives change, but a CASA volunteer can be appointed on that case to be a constant for the child.
And I understand there's 18 different CASA programs.
There are. We operate in 18 locations throughout Colorado in 18 of the 22 judicial districts.
CASA volunteers, they really have a big chance, a big opportunity to make an impact being a volunteer. I mean, that child's going to look at someone and say, hey, this is maybe who I want to be in my future. So tell me about that.
Sure. So if you are interested in being a CASA volunteer, you go through 30 hours of pre-service training and learn how to really put the child's best interest front and center in front of the judge. And what CASA volunteers do and the work that they deliver, it's delivered through volunteers. The advocacy that CASA provides is not delivered through staff members. So without volunteers, CASA stops. Volunteers are really the vehicles that deliver the mission to these children. And what they do is advocacy for their physical health, mental health, education, placement stability, and safety and permanency. So really what we want to see are these kids who, again, at no fault of their own, have experienced the unimaginable. We want to see them grow in their resilience and thrive.
Amen to that. Dax, you're a volunteer?
I'm an ambassador, yeah.
An ambassador. How did you get involved?
Well, so I was looking around for an organization that I could give some time to help, and I happen to be a father of 4 teenage daughters.
Oh!
Yeah. And so I knew I wanted to do something with children, and as I got to know CASA more, I just thought the work that they're doing is remarkable. I can't think of many organizations where volunteers can have such a long-lasting and positive impact on the life of a child. And so Jenny and Miranda told me a lot about how they have this vision for 2020 to make sure that the organization can provide an advocate for every child that needs one. And so I have a 20-year background in marketing, and so it all came together as a nice fit to help them do that.
Perfect.
So as an ambassador, I really help them recruit new volunteers and to fundraise when needed.
And what's the message you tell volunteers?
Well, I always find that typically we relate better to stories to understand material. And so I went and spent some time in court to watch some of these cases go through the process and came away with a number of stories that I then used to help people understand that they actually really can make a difference and that they become the physical embodiment of the child in the court. You know, you have this room full of adults who are making really important decisions on behalf of the child. And without the CASA volunteer there, nobody is really hearing what it is that the child wants to happen at the end of it. So I think when people understand that and they can relate to the stories that we tell, they tend to get pretty excited about the idea that they could step in and help these children.
So as a volunteer, the child could talk to you privately if they're a little intimidated to do it for themselves in court, and you can relay that message?
Yeah, so an advocate will spend time with the child a couple of times a month, typically as a minimum, and then we'll get to know them over a period of time, really the length of their case ideally. And then in court they get to stand up and the judge gives them a platform for which they can communicate that. And you know, it might simply be that the kid says, I don't want to live in either of those places, I want to go live on the moon.
Yeah.
And that's great. If that's the kid's wishes, then that should be communicated.
All right. Well, thank you for the work that you're doing. That's amazing. And it sounds like volunteering makes a huge impact, not only on the child, but also on the volunteer themselves.
Yes, you know, and some of the ways that we can give back in so many different ways to CASA, but really you find yourself as a CASA volunteer feeling so fulfilled by doing this work. And without volunteers, CASA stops. So we need more volunteers. We're actively recruiting volunteers in the Denver metro area. Get this, we had last year in 2018, we had over 1,200 CASA volunteers, everyday citizens like you and I, that decide they see a need and they want to respond by being a CASA volunteer. They served over 2,500 children.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Our impact is so huge here in the Denver metro area. We have 5 programs. So to find the program that you would like to volunteer that's in your community, your backyard, you can go to nationalcasa.org and put in your zip code under About Us, and it'll plug you into one of the 5 programs right here in Denver Metro.
Perfect. You can help support CASA. Consider becoming a court-appointed special advocate. CASA volunteer. You can also attend events like Light of Hope breakfast this Friday, May 3rd at the Hyatt Regency of Denver. Please learn more about the CASA programs in the Denver metro area. Visit CASAforchildren.org.